Hello and welcome to another episode of Pat's Chat. Today, 25th episode. I'm really honored to have a very special, awesome guest today, Dr. Jason Leong. I think everyone knows him in the meantime. I'm really honored you made it to my small anniversary show. Thank you so much for your time, Jason.
No problem, man. How are you?
I'm okay for the moment, yeah. Yourself?
I want all your viewers to know that Pat here, we do jujitsu together. That's why I know Pat, and he always bullies me on the mats. He has injured me 5 times. He seems like a nice guy, but he's not, man. He's this little angry Swedish guy who beats the shit out of me every time. I'm very upset.
Basically, I was not like how we're supposed to start, but I can say I beat the shit out of you because you call me Swedish, and you never learned that I'm basically from Switzerland. But that's okay.
I know.
Yeah,
I purposely said that.
Okay, I bully you next time for that again. But thanks for the nice intro. You just brought me out of my concept, but where I wanted to start, I saw on your Facebook profile basically that you describe yourself as a second-class citizen. What do you mean by that? What is the background of that you still call yourself
second-class citizen?
Second class.
Yeah, because as you all know, in Malaysia, there is a special provision in the constitution where the Malays and the Bumi Putras have special privileges and special rights. And for non-Malays like myself and a lot of other Malaysians, we feel that, yeah, we are like second-class citizens. I give you an example. This permeates throughout almost every aspect of society. When you buy houses, there are special discounts given to the Bumi Putras so they can buy houses at a cheaper price. The banks offer special investment vehicles that give higher rates of returns that are only accessible to the Bumi Putras. Education opportunities, there are a lot of universities that have, not only do they have quotas where only a certain number of non-Malays can get in, meritocracy is not established, and also there are various institutions, educational institutions and scholarships that are only available to the Malay people. So so throughout all this, one can't help but feel that we are second class, because although technically we are citizens, we have the right to vote, but the opportunities given to us are not equal.
I understand, and I know you're very patriotic. You always put that first, that you're Malaysian. I think you take good care also about the racial challenges, I would say, that there are in Malaysia also. Let's go back a little bit in your childhood, because I found a sense that you said yourself that you made a lot of noise in school. You talked a lot. You made fun of people, but also people say that you're naturally funny. I mean, was it clear for you all the time that you wanted to become a comedian one day? Was that your target?
I mean, when I was in school, not that I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, not yet, but I realized very early on that I liked talking. So I like the sound of my own voice. So I would join the debating teams. I represented my school in the debating teams. I joined the national public speaking competition. We had a national level public speaking competition. I joined it twice. Almost a lot of the school events, I emceed the events, and I like to tell jokes. So I think when I was young, I like to read Reader's Digest, and at the end of the article they have like one anecdote or one joke, laughter the best medicine, or all in a day's work. So I think stand-up comedy is a very natural extension of my interests when I was a kid.
Okay, and I can say you're a truly funny guy when you're not bullied in the gym. Yeah, so
yes,
a lot of fun. So
you always laugh when you bully me, so I'm glad I made you laugh.
Nevertheless, Jason, you didn't become a comedian right away. You become a medical doctor. Does this go with like the bias of Chinese and Malaysian? You have to become a medical doctor, or what motivated you at the beginning to really go through these studies, which are not easy, right? I mean, it's a tough work, it's a tough studies also.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's very ingrained in our culture that we have to be, like doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant, that kind of. So, but I was always interested to pursue a career in the sciences, and I think being a doctor is like a pinnacle of, for me, the pinnacle of sciences, because you use science actively to help people. And I was lured by the prestige of being a doctor, definitely. And I wanted to be a doctor, actually. My parents couldn't really afford to send me to medical school, but I still wanted to be a doctor. Yeah, so it's weird that I want to be a doctor, then I give it all up to become a stand-up comedian. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go through all that, but first of all, it was not that easy. I mean, you practiced as a doctor, and I read like as a side job, more or less. You did your gigs, you build
Yes.
up your jokes and things like that. That took a couple of years, and I think then like there was a change around, what was it, 2010, 2013, like that. You had some gigs like opening acts for different comedians like Harit Iskandar, I think. But then what made the change really seemed to be the gig with Douglas Slim of the MACC.
Yep.
And that seemed to be like the turning point where we really figured out, hey, I want to be a comedian. Let's throw away my
Yeah,
doctor
yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah. So I was working as a doctor for 4.5 years, almost 5 years actually. In my end of the first year of my practice, I did my first stand-up comedy gig. This was an open mic in KL, and then the second time I did the open mic, Douglas Lim was in the lineup. So he saw me perform, and then he headlined the show. Then he gave me a break to be in the Malaysian Association of Chinese Comedians, MACC. So every year we'll do a tour. So I did that for like a couple of years. So I was doing both. I was working and doing comedy at the same time for like 2-3 years.
Wow.
And by the end of 2013, I also won the 7th International Hong Kong Comedy Competition.
Mhm.
And
First Malaysian
gigs,
to win that.
I think, yes, first Malaysian, yes.
Yeah.
And then when the gigs started coming in, I knew that I couldn't do both at the same time because it's really tiring. I'll work Monday to Friday at the clinic, and then Saturday to Sunday I'll perform, and it was really tough. Like no rest. So I decided that I had to give up one. So I decided to try and give up medicine for a while and do stand-up comedy. If I need to come back, I'll come back. But luckily, I didn't have to lah. So that was that was 2014. So it's like almost 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, almost 7 years already since I last quit.
Oh, yeah. You just said luckily. That means like, did you hate your job so much, or were you just more excited about being comedian in front of public?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's both. I didn't like my job, and I love being in front of people. You see, the problem is it's not so much like the job per se, but I think in Malaysia, being a doctor, especially in the public service, there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of red tape, and it's not really pleasant because sometimes it feels like a lot of things are against you. The pay is very bad. And the stress level is very high, and there's not a lot of work-life balance, and even at the junior level, where at least when I was a junior doctor, there was a lot of bullying, a lot of toxicity in the workplace, I would say.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So, and I always told my wife, the scene in Pirates of the Caribbean, the second one, Dead Man's Chest. There's a guy who was in Davy Jones's ship, and he's been there so long that the ship is absorbing him. He's becoming part of the ship. Yeah. So the mantra is part of the ship, part of the crew. So I was worried that the longer I stay in this toxic environment, I will become one of the people who are toxic also. Wow. And I can see this in some of my friends. Like they will get bullied by their senior doctors. Then when they become seniors, they will do the same things to their juniors that were done to them.
Wow, I see.
Yeah. So that's one of the push factors. And of course, the pull factor is that stand-up comedy is a very rewarding, a very rewarding profession.
Yeah. Okay. I was just surprised to hear that you said it's very badly paid, right? Because I thought like
Oh
that
yes.
could be a motivation, right? That you stay and say like, okay, it's very difficult to make a change because like you have a highly regarded job, a highly paid job also, but then why would you change to comedy and risk a lot? I mean, as you said, if it doesn't work, right, then well, you have to go back any way. You lose some time, you lose a lot of money
Yeah.
also. Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to money, I mean, doctors will tell you this that if medicine is not a profession you go in to be rich, and this is said by the rich doctors themselves. Um, and I think it's I realized later on that, you know, when I talk to my friends like you and, you know, people who are in the banking industry, finance industry, people who know about how to run a business, I find that doctors, we know how the human body works.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But people like you and people in business, they know how the world works.
Mm.
So I think I feel that that is lacking in a lot of doctors. We know how the human body functions, but we don't know how the world goes around. So I think
Yeah.
that is the gap I see when I talk to my friends outside medicine.
Understand. I also find just that point very interesting. So you became basically an entrepreneur. I think that's how I see it. I know many people see like funny guys turning comedian. I think it's a hard job really to put the things together that you put together. And sometimes we discussed also like how much time you really spend in like producing a small video, right, and cut it
Yeah, yeah,
together. And especially during the MCO where you had like your short
yeah.
videos, but you spend the entire day to produce basically a nine minute or 7 minute video, right?
Yes, yes.
So hard work, but I'm really happy to see that that worked out for you. And so let's change a little bit to the topics that you're using. And I saw not like a pattern, but I see topics like popping up like everywhere, like in your videos, in your shows also. Basically, one of those is TCM, the traditional Chinese medicine. So there's a lot of jokes about that, like even some terms like heatiness that really make the world, right? I mean, even sometimes I talk with friends, you know, it's like, oh, I'm injured here, oh, heatiness. That's very funny, right? But
Hmm.
what is the reason for that? I mean, why is this one of the topics that you're really making
Hmm.
not fun of, but it's one of the topics you repeatedly have in your programs?
Yeah. Um, I think it's because I have seen firsthand the dangers of traditional medicine. Not to say traditional Chinese medicine, but traditional medicine in its entirety. You know, all these
Mhm.
homeopathic healers, this chakras, this Reiki healing, all these things which are not scientifically backed. And the problem is because when people, they believe in things that clearly do not work and they ignore that which works, it comes to a detriment to themselves. You can see it happening around the world now. You know, like people are blissfully ignoring the advice of actual scientists, actual doctors, not wearing masks and spreading COVID. That is one very bad symptom of a larger disease, which is believing in pseudoscience. And I'll give you an example. So I saw this patient once when I was a houseman. Okay, he's like a very young kid, but he has Cushing's disease. Cushing's disease is caused by having too much steroids in your body. I can't remember the exact pathophysiology. And what happens is he has asthma. Okay, now asthma, the medications to control asthma, the strongest medication, the last line of defense against asthma is steroids. Okay, steroids. Um, so the mother, whenever he has an asthma attack, she will boil for him like traditional Chinese herbs, which she got from the shop.
Mhm.
Now, what she doesn't know is all these herbs, they are kind of laced with steroids. So whenever you take the herbs, you feel better. Okay, that's what steroids
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
So whenever this boy has an asthma attack, instead of going to an actual doctor, she boils the herbs, gives him the herbs, giving him a large dose of steroids. And after many years of doing this, when you put in large dose of steroids, your adrenal glands will shut down. Adrenal glands produce the steroids, our actual natural steroids.
Mhm.
So when the adrenal glands shut down, when he becomes actually sick, the body needs to pump steroids to combat the disease. The adrenal glands cannot pump anymore, and that's why he falls severely sick and he comes to the hospital. Doctors take one look at him. Oh my God, you have Cushing's disease. Have you been taking traditional Chinese herbs? And the mother says yes. So first-hand damage when it comes to taking traditional Chinese herbs. And on a larger scale, like we see so many patients who, let's say they have diabetes, they have a foot ulcer, okay, and we give them medication. They don't want to follow the medication because like you have to take it every day, 4 to 6 times a day. They go to the traditional Chinese doctor, gives them some bullshit, and they come back having to amputate the foot.
I
So
understand.
this is absolutely horrible. And you see it not just in Malaysia, everywhere around the world. People don't want to follow doctors' advice and they follow alternative healers. And it's to their own detriment.
I mean, interestingly, like in the Western, right, in the West and from Europe, I mean, this is even a big topic, right? They're making sales of that, saying, "Oh, wow, this is Chinese medicine or traditional Chinese medicine," and a lot of centers pop up and grow. But from your perspective, I mean, do you put that in your program because you want to raise more awareness, or is it because you already gave up and you try to just make ridicule it? I mean, make fun of it so people, well, in the end, also get an awareness.
Yeah, I think it was mostly just to spread awareness, but also I think, firstly, as a comedian, it's nice to see that, oh, a lot of people don't talk about traditional medicine, right? A lot of comedians don't talk about it, maybe because they are not doctors themselves. So with my medical background, I'm able to dissect the subject better. And also that's my unique selling point. That is my position, you know, like all the comedians, I'm a doctor, which is interesting. Then you will listen to me more. And also, as from my perspective as a doctor, because I'm a comedian, I get to say things which a lot of doctors may not dare to say because they want to remain professional, right? It can be detrimental to a actual doctor's career if they go out and say, "Hey, man, traditional Chinese doctors are bullshit." They may get into a lot of trouble, right? But I don't have that kind of baggage, so I'm able to say it. I can say in my videos, traditional Chinese medicine is bullshit, and you know, nothing will happen to me because I'm not a practicing doctor.
I mean, all that I see, all that happens really is like the discussion starting, right? And you can see like people at the two very extremes discussing. You know, some discuss seriously also. So I think in the end, the target is reached. People discuss about it, and everyone can make its own opinion in the end. Also, a very serious topic, I think, that you're using very well with your medical background. So another topic, maybe not so, well, it's also kind of serious but funnier, I would say. That is one of your favorite topic is talking about the governments, right? So
yes.
One of the jokes you raised during MCO is like you're really upset about the current politicians because they take away your job being comedians and being funny. Yeah, what's your point on the political jokes? I mean, it's something that, well, it feeds you something like every day or every week. You can talk about this like every day, right? Is it that, or is it like just that you also politically engage or interested really that you make that one of your main topics, I would say?
Yeah, I think as I grow older, I'm more interested in politics, definitely. But the thing is also, Malaysian politics is just full of bullshit. It's so funny, it's so sad, it's so tragic, and it's so interesting. Like, how long have you been in Malaysia, Patrick?
5 years now.
Bro, it's been interesting for the last 20 years, man. Like, you can write a book since like from 30 years ago. It's so insane. Like, I can tell you the entire story involving these 4 or 5 figures, and it's still ongoing. As of today, like, we are apparently waiting for another change of government. We could have Malaysia could have 3 prime ministers within 1 year. It's ridiculous. And so it's, I think, our duty as stand-up comedians to call out this kind of bullshit, to speak truth to power, at least because we have that platform, people will listen.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think if you look back at history, comedy started with the Greeks when they put on plays, like plays in the amphitheaters, and because they cannot directly criticize the leaders, they would create a character in the play where it is a leader but he's stupid, and then they make fun of the character in the play but not directly at the leaders. So this was the earliest, I think, forms of formal comedy.
I understand.
So even in its very first stage, comedy has that power to bring the high low, and I think it's very important because comedy is comedy is actually very subversive. Comedy can undermine
Yeah.
powerful people. And one of the famous cartoonists in Malaysia who always draws satirical cartoons criticizing the government. He was almost in jail for his cartoons. His name is Zuna, and Zuna had a very important point. He said, laughter is a very powerful form of protest because the governments that we see today, the authoritarian governments, they know how to handle a coup. They know how to use violence to stifle a riot or a protest.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to stop people from laughing.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a powerful statement. How about yourself? I mean, did you get like in trouble, or did you get some warnings sometime about from politicians, or like just people that don't understand your joke or your sarcasm sometimes?
Yeah, mostly from people. I've never had any formal trouble. Luckily, the authorities have not contacted me, but I'm bracing for it. So far I try my best to straddle the line between funny and what's the word, seditious. Malaysia has very loose sedition laws, I would say. There is a rule last time, back before 2018, there was a rule, unspoken, unwritten rule amongst people in the entertainment industry and the media especially. So you cannot touch on the 4 Rs. The 4 Rs, which are race, royalty, religion, and Rosma. It's 4 Rs. So as long as you try not to touch too much on them, you are considered safe lah.
Interesting. What is your personal boundaries? I mean, what is the thing, even if you think of a thing that you say you cannot make jokes about that is inappropriate or it's unethical? Is there anything, or are you more the guy that says, no, well, comedy is allowed to do everything, making jokes about everything?
Yeah, as a stand-up comedian, I'm bound to the wisdom of the great comedians and also to the ethos of the art, which is you can make fun of everything. You can make fun of anything, any subject, anything can be made fun of. Rape, cancer, Holocaust, AIDS, all the worst things in the world, you should be able to make fun of, provided you are good enough lah. No topic or subject is taboo. That's my point of view as a comedian. But as a Malaysian, being practical, yes, there are a lot of things I wouldn't touch. I wouldn't touch, say, royalty. I won't make jokes about royalty. I won't make jokes about the Muslim faith or Muslims or Islam, because that's just inviting, in the current climate, too much trouble than it's worth lah. Unfortunately, sadly, that is the case. I wish that wasn't the case.
Okay, so at least the 2 Rs is for you a taboo.
Yeah. Yes.
What is not a taboo is obviously making fun of other states like Sabah. You know what I'm referring to?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, that was a really interesting case, I have to say, because just to recap quickly, that was a Sabah student, a girl that posted a YouTube video, I think, that she had to climb on trees overnight to get internet connectivity, and you commented on that, and clearly I think it was understandable that you made the joke on the internet service providers, right? Like blaming them. How can it be that in some states we still don't have internet? But it
Yeah.
backfired really
Yeah.
crazily, right? I mean, there was such
Yeah.
a huge controversy, and as I just mentioned, right, people saying, "Oh, you were against the Sabahans, you were against students, and things like that."
Yeah.
Really went into a big shit storm. I think we can say it like that.
It was a shit hurricane.
Shit hurricane.
But it's actually not the worst. Yeah, it's not the worst. Yeah.
Oh, really? But okay,
Yeah.
let's just stick to in general, like shitstorms,
Yeah,
shit
yeah, yeah.
hurricanes. Like, were you surprised about that? That exactly
Um,
that post like created such a mess.
Yeah, initially I was surprised. Then after a while, I began to realize that the I think the Sabahans were already quite angry at the idea that as a state they don't have a lot of infrastructure, and then this girl became their hero. And then when they see someone from Peninsular Malaysia, West Malaysia, making fun of her, then we have to defend our hero and kill this villain, right? But clearly the tweet was meant to poke fun at how bad internet connectivity is in Malaysia also. There were a lot of people saying that, I was cyberbullying a younger girl.
Yeah.
And that I'm using my privilege to make fun of Sabahans. None of which are true, because I like Sabah a lot. I go there quite often. And whenever
they
I perform
invited
in Sabah,
you to go there, right? But
yeah. And the thing about Sabah is Sabah and Sarawak are two states which show you what Malaysia as a whole should be. Because if you go to Sabah and Sarawak, have you been to Sabah and Sarawak by any chance?
No, I have not been yet. Yeah, it's a shame. I know, but I'm guilty of that.
As someone born and bred in Selangor and West Malaysia, and you see the racial, religious divide there is in Malaysia, when you go to Sabah and Sarawak, you don't see that there, and it's a bit of a culture shock. I give you an example. You can go to a restaurant, which there will be a Muslim family, wearing the hijab, eating, and next to them there'll be a Chinese family eating also. Okay, in a Chinese restaurant, and this is freaking unheard of in Malaysia, right? Or like in Sarawak, there's an image where there's a mosque and a church next to each other, right? Yeah. That itself is mind-blowing. It will never happen in Malaysia, right? In West Malaysia. But what is interesting is on Friday, the church will open up their compound so that people can park in the church to go to the mosque. Then on Sunday, the mosque will open a compound so that people can park in the mosque to go to the church. And then on like Christmas Day, you will see like Muslims singing Christmas carols. On Hari Raya, Christians will visit, the mosque, whatever. It's so one Malaysia. It's so the Malay word is muhibah. That is what Malaysia should be. So I actually love Sabah. So obviously, I'm not making fun of Sabah, of course. And what I realized is, what I've learned from this saga is that when people are mad at you for something which clearly is not your intention, right? All I have to do is I just kept quiet. I didn't respond to anything. Some of them even asked, "Would you like to give a statement or apologize?" I did none of that. I never apologized. I never explained myself. I never say, "Oh yes, I understand," because that would just fuel the next cycle. Just keep quiet.
Yeah.
And within a week, it was over.
True. Would that like be your tip, like to people really getting into a shitstorm? Like just sit it out. I mean, don't comment, don't talk about it, and just wait a week until it's over.
Yeah, I had another friend in Singapore. His name is Fakafaz, Malay Guy, and he made this was 2015, 2016. When the 1MDB scandal was big, and he made a joke on stage, and then he put it on video on YouTube, which basically saying like, in Singapore we call a thief, but in Malaysia you guys call a thief the Prime Minister. Okay, it's a language joke. he got into a shit tsunami, hurricane, earthquake all at one time, right? There were people calling for him to be banned from coming to Malaysia. He had death threats to his family who is in Malaysia, and he 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 apologized, and I remember telling him, don't apologize, because when you apologize, it will never be enough. Whatever the mob wants to do, they will still do to you. So even after he apologized, the attack still came on, and he was there's like someone made a police report against him saying that he shouldn't be brought into Malaysia. So it's never enough. It's when you apologize, you just weaken your position. This is if, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you didn't do anything wrong, lah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, correct.
Which I think he didn't. I think he didn't do anything wrong. It's a joke, clearly at a stand-up comedy show. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
You know, but if you you know, sexually harass people, you touch girls, then yeah, of course you should apologize.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, it's two different topics, and again, it's under the name of comedy, clearly declared, right? So everyone should understand. But that brings me to basically the next topic I wanted to ask. I'm really wondering. Of course, there's different sense of humor. People understand also sarcasm in a different way. Not only within the country, but you have toured in many countries, Southeast Asia, like Hong Kong, also in India, Australia, Philippines. How was that for you? Did you have to adjust some parts of your program, before the first time, or like even during shows, or like after the shows, because you figured out, wow, this kind of jokes don't work at all, or it doesn't work here? Or how did that work out for you? How did you figure out, or is it more of a testing?
It comes with stage time overseas, obviously. If you tour a few years, you realize that there are more similarities between all the countries and all the people than there are differences. So actually, sometimes you'll be surprised that, oh, this particular joke about Malaysian bribery actually works in other countries, because other countries also experience their form of bribery. You know, bribery is not just unique to Malaysia. What you must do is you take out the jokes which are heavily referencing Malaysian stuff. Like, for example, if I do a joke about Rosmah or Najib, they won't get it because they don't know Najib, they don't know Rosmah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? But if I
you
do
can
a joke
just replace the names maybe with politicians.
So political jokes, everyone has their own idea of what political jokes should be. Everyone all around the world, they hate certain politicians, and so by and large, a lot of all the countries, they will enjoy the same kind of jokes as long as you're good enough to pull them off. But there is a difference, I'd say, when I travel to places like Melbourne. Now, Melbourne is a huge comedy market, but Australians in the urban cities, they tend to be very PC. They're very politically correct. So a joke, let's say your joke contains the word bitch, they were, well, how can you call a woman a bitch? You know what I mean? Like they will pull back at certain things. So they are slightly more PC than other markets, I would say. I went to perform in America and didn't have that much of a I wouldn't say a problem, but like there's like, oh, okay, so these people are a bit sensitive towards this kind of things, right? So apart from that, you know, just every country has a little bit of nuance. You just tweak to it a little bit, then you can get them. Yeah.
Understand. So one specific question in your, well, we come to that in a moment. Your Netflix show #Blessed. You're using a very funny joke with the Hong Kong taxi driver.
Yes.
Were you making that joke in Hong Kong?
Yeah, of course. Oh my god, that joke
was funny.
Like the room burst when I did that joke. It's insane. And what is interesting about that joke is, right, you see, that joke, I would say, very accurately captures the spirit of the Hong Kong people. If you go to Hong Kong, you go to the streets, you know, the shops, you know, you meet the the real Hong Kongers. That is exactly how they behave.
Mhm.
They have no time for you. They are very efficient. They will carry out the service for you, and if you irritate them, they will let you know, right? But here's the interesting thing about that joke, which I will share the secret with you. That incident didn't really happen.
Oh, okay,
No.
okay,
Okay. Let me tell you the real incident. Okay.
sure.
I'm in the cab, Hong Kong cab driver. He's driving. The car cuts him off. He gets upset. So he drives up to the offending car. So now we're side by side, right? And he does this, right? He's looking at the in front, but he's horning. He's horning. He's honking. Ping, 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 and then he's lifting his middle finger like this. The car's that side, okay? He's lifting his middle, ping, 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 but he's not looking at the guy. Ping, 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 so that he's honking, so the guy is forced to look left and see the middle finger.
Interesting, yeah.
And I was thinking, fuck, how do I translate this to capture the real Hong Kong spirit, you know?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
then I came up with this joke. And that joke that you watch, it wouldn't have come about if I didn't spend quite a lot of time in Hong Kong. And like, for example, like I was buying something from an IT store, you know, like a cable or whatever.
Mhm.
And I can only speak a little bit of Cantonese. So I said, yeah, I'm so sorry, I don't have small change. Okay. And the Hong Kongers, they have this way of being nice but rude at the same time, right? So I said, I'm sorry, I don't have small change. And this guy goes, hey, don't be stupid, man. Money is still money. Then he takes my money and say, I'll give you change, no problem. They give him a change. I said, okay. I said, can you put it in a plastic bag? And he goes, of course, I'll put it in a plastic bag for you. Like, it's like, so it's good service, but he's like, yeah, of course, I'll do it for you. You know, like, so I was like, okay, how do I was very tickled by this. So I told my friends in Hong Kong, I said, yeah, that's the typical Hong Kong spirit. So I was like, how do I capture that spirit with my cab driver experience? And then slowly the ideas just kept flowing in. Okay, and then and it's
Wow,
so
awesome, yeah.
it's very Hong Kong.
That's very impressive. And I think you thought once, like, I mean, most of the situations or most of your jokes come from situations that you really lived, right? That you observed and then that happened. And well, of course, you have to tweak it, right, to make it even funnier. But can you disclose, like, how much of your program, when you have like this 1 hour programs, is really situation that happened more or less like that?
Yeah.
Or is
So
it everything?
See, like, for example, like most of the stories that I tell are real, but it's just that I need to tweak it a little bit to make it more, how to say, audience friendly or stand-up comedy friendly. I'll give you an example. Like, you watch my special, right? Remember the story I told about Thank You, Jesus? Right? So the gist of the story is I helped a friend go through a medical procedure. She then goes back home and thanks Jesus, right? So that Sarah character is not real, right? I didn't have that experience, but I've done a lot of, I'm like, I'll help out a friend in this little manner, and then she goes, oh, thank God. I help another friend in something else, and you go, oh, Jesus brought Jason to me, that kind of stuff. Or I have other friends who tell me similar stories, right? So I just take all the stories and I amalgamate it into one story, which didn't happen, but is real. It's happening all around the world. It's happening to all my doctor friends. I just make it friendly to the audience to listen to a story.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like, the bit about I put the stethoscope around so that I don't get fined from the cops.
Yes.
Right?
You do that.
I've done that twice, which is real. Now that is real. But when I take out the jumper cables, that is false. That didn't happen.
Of course.
I just think of what could be what could be a funny
funnier,
situation.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, stethoscope. What's in the car? Jumper cables. Okay, so I jumper cable. Then there's a nice ending to the story.
Okay, awesome. Let's talk about the Netflix. I mean, that is in itself also an awesome story, and I really feel honored to know you, because how many people you really know that are on Netflix. You managed to do that. Not only that, but also your show was in the top. What was the highest, 4 or 5?
Four in
Four.
Malaysia,
Top
four in
four.
Singapore. Yeah.
That is awesome. Congratulations for that. Can you walk me through like the process, like what happened?
Hmm.
How did Netflix approach you, or you have to sign up somewhere? Or how does
Yeah.
this really work?
Yeah. First of all, I think yes, Perry, you should be very honored because not only do you know someone on Netflix, you ambat someone on Netflix many times. Who else? No one else. Very
True.
few people in the world have ambat someone who is on Netflix. So in 2018, a few of my friends got on Netflix. I knew then that I also wanted to be on Netflix. The first the obvious way of doing it is Netflix will contact you and they will commission you to do a special. Okay, so it means they say, "Hey Patrick, I want you to do a special. Here's a bunch of money. Shoot the special. Give it us by 6 months." I went the other way because I didn't have a Netflix deal, but I knew that if I showed them something worthy, they'll be willing to buy. So in 2018, without any deal whatsoever, I funded my own special first, shot it, everything. We tried to sell it in 2018 via a Malaysian comedy promoter. It didn't work. So 2019, I sort of gave up because I was too busy producing 2 tours. So I was very, really busy. Then in 2020, I had the special in my hand, and I asked my producer for his blessing because he was not making any money. So I said, "Hey, can I?" Kuber is my producer. I said, "Kuber, can I cut this into little clips and put it on YouTube for free?" And he said, "Sure. Just put it on YouTube. If something else comes along, we work together, lah." So I put on YouTube, and I was already going to, it's private link, so I was going to click to public. Then I said, no, I still want to try one last time. So I contacted the guy at Netflix Asia. They have an office in Singapore. I met them. I met the head of acquisition like 2 years ago, in 2018, when I was touring the show, and I toured in Singapore. I gave him 2 free tickets to come to my show. So he
Okay.
came, he watched, he liked it. So I tried, hey, what will it take to get me on Netflix? And he goes, well, we are looking to license finished content. Do you have anything to show me? I said, yeah, of course. And I showed him I sent him the 1 hour YouTube clip, and it took 2 months after that. But the deal went through. I was really grateful, and it took 2 years of not giving up to land the special. Yeah.
Wow, awesome! Yeah, okay, that's cool. So now it's there for everyone to watch, and I can really recommend it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's good. It's funny. It touches some of the topics we talked today also, which is awesome. So yeah, there it is. Hashtag blessed. And again, I can say also hashtag blessed. I'm really blessed. You took the time. Thank you so much, Jason, for
My
sharing
pleasure, man.
your stories.
Stop unbarring me.
Yeah, I will. I won't stop, of course, especially after you call me Swedish again. And that's not against the Swedish guys. I mean, against you. So, looking forward to tomorrow. I see you in the gym. Thank you very much, Jason, again for your time and joining me today. Really appreciate that.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much. And thanks to the audience for watching this. I'm sure you found it as funny and insightful as I did. And then hope I see you next week for another episode of Pat's Chat. Thanks and have a great day.